Revealed, Billionaire's life-changing discovery of a single mom's amazing diary leads to an unexpected journey. Jake Donovan stood at the center of the glittering charity gala, a sea of designer suits and silk gowns surrounding him. He had everything: money, status, and power as a self-made billionaire by 35. Yet, amidst laughter and feigned connections, an emptiness gnawed at him. The conversations felt hollow, like echoes in an empty hall. Most of all, he missed the warmth of genuine connection he had known growing up in Springfield, Illinois. As he wandered through the venue, his mind swirling with the mundane chatter, Jake found himself pulled away from the crowd. His heart raced with a mix of restlessness and hope, as if something awaited him. When he stumbled upon an unmarked box tucked in a corner, he hesitated only briefly before lifting the lid. Inside lay a simple diary, the pages yellowed with age. An ordinary item, yet it pulled at his soul. "Mom, today I served a woman who reminded me of you," Jake read aloud, drawn in by the tender words of Sarah, a single mother of 2. Each sentence unfolded a story of resilience, of juggling shifts at a diner, while balancing dreams for her children's futures. "Some days I don't know how we'll make ends meet, but I fight for them with everything I have." The words ignited forgotten feelings within Jake, memories of his own childhood, the fights to make ends meet, the dreams that felt out of reach. As he read deeper, tears welled in his eyes. Didn't he once share those same values? Hard work, family, heartache. He was connected to this woman he'd never met, yet here he was, sitting at the top, surrounded by wealth. The heavy realization hit him: he had become a stranger to what truly mattered. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jake's intrigue for Sarah's story blossomed into a mission. He began visiting her neighborhood, each trip washing waves of nostalgia over him. He saw struggling families fighting against daunting odds and the weight of societal judgment crushing them. He felt guilt, as if his success had somehow made him an outsider in his own skin. Inspired, he dreamed of launching a community initiative to offer education and resources, rebuilding the bridges he'd crossed long ago. But as he shared his vision, skepticism met him like a brick wall. "What do you really want, Jake?" Sarah's voice cut through the crowd during a public meeting, raw and challenging. The frustration in her eyes mirrored his own inner turmoil. Did he truly care about their struggles, or was he simply alleviating his own guilt? As tension mounted, Jake found himself grappling not only with how to help, but also with the disconnect from his own estranged parents who once disapproved of his relentless ambition. Jake was determined to show them he belonged to this community. But just when he thought he was carving a new path, his phone buzzed with an unexpected call from his parents, revealing a truth about his family's past that could shatter his understanding of himself. Caught between the legacy of his upbringing and the desire to forge a new path, Jake stood at a crossroads. Could he truly bridge two worlds? Hope and uncertainty loomed as the community watched, waiting for the next step that would define not just his life, but theirs too. Would he find redemption in his roots, or be forever haunted by the gap that had opened between who he had become and who he truly was? Jake stared at his phone, the screen flashing with his parents' number. His heart raced. All those years, he'd distanced himself from them, convinced their opinions didn't matter. But now, standing on the brink of a new purpose, their call felt like a weighty tether, anchoring him to his past. He hesitated before answering, each second stretching painfully. When he finally did, his mother's shaky voice came through. "Jake, we need to talk. It's about your father." The words pierced through the momentary silence of his world, making the vibrant sounds of the charity gala fade into the background. Memories flooded back, arguments too loud, silences too heavy. His father had never approved of his dreams, always urging him to follow a more traditional path. What could be so important now? "I think he should come home," she said, her quiet tone filled with urgency. There's something you need to know. The connection between his old life and the one he envisioned in Sarah's community felt palpably fragile. Mom, I can't just drop everything, Jake replied, wrestling with the compulsive pull of duty and desire. He glanced around, seeing joyful faces, feeling utterly out of place. Yes, you can. This isn't just about us. It's about you and your life, she urged, her voice thickening with emotion. Please. Time seemed to stop as he weighed his choices. The ambition that had brought him success mattered little when placed against the legacy of his family, a legacy he long sought to escape. Would accepting his past mean embracing the shame he felt for walking away? I'll think about it, Jake said, more to buy time than out of conviction, and hung up, feeling the weight of unresolved issues press against him. That night, he lay awake, images of his childhood flickering in the darkness, his mother, laughter echoing through their small home, the day a bank threatened to take their house, the pride in his father's eyes when he first helped Jake with his science project. Those were moments when dreams felt possible, before cynicism crept in and took root. In the morning light, he walked the streets of Sarah's neighborhood again, the journal clutched tightly in his hand. The aged paper whispered stories that filled him with purpose. He'd never spoken to her directly, but her words felt like a lifeline. She was the voice of so many who struggled, a voice he wanted to amplify. He began to take notes, jotting down ideas and aspirations for the community initiative, fueled by the urgency of his growing resolve. But as he talked to locals, their suspicions beckoned. Do you think money is all we need? A man with tired eyes asked, his voice heavy with doubt. You have no idea what it's like. Jake felt the sting of their truth as much as he wanted to help. He couldn't simply drop his wealth into their laps and expect it to change anything. He gathered more resolve, understanding he'd have to gain their trust, prove he was one of them after all. The phone call with his mom lingered in his mind, and as he drove back to his sprawling home that night, he felt another tug of pull in two different directions. He needed answers, clarity. What if the truth about his family was the key to uniting two worlds he desperately wanted to bridge? He took a deep breath as he pulled into his driveway, knowing he stood on the edge of revelation. The phone buzzed again, another call from his parents. This time, he wouldn't hesitate. The truths waiting for him might change everything, and it was a risk he had to take. What was it his mother needed to tell him? Jake's fingers hovered over the screen for a moment before he pressed accept, the sound of the call ringing in his ears like a heartbeat. His journey had just taken a pivotal turn. Would he be ready for the answers that awaited? Jake? Are you there? His mother's voice trembled through the phone, pulling him back from the cascade of thoughts racing through his mind. Yes, Mom, I'm here. He tried to sound calm, but the weight of his uncertainty pressed against him. Just hearing her voice stirred a conflicting blend of guilt and longing. It's about your father's health. Her words hung heavy, a brick sinking into his stomach. He's been diagnosed with something serious. The revelation hit him like a tidal wave. Memories of his father, flawed but steadfast, flickered in his mind. The man who'd once shared dreams and built barriers. What do you mean serious? What's going on? His voice cracked, the walls he had built began to crumble. He has cancer, Jake. The silence that followed felt crushing. The doctors say we need to act fast. Jake squeezed his eyes shut, flooded with helplessness. Their complicated history didn't matter in that moment. This was about his family. How are you doing? I'm managing. But I think he should come home. There's so much we need to talk about his wishes, and your future too. Her voice softened, coated with the awkwardness of years apart. Mom, I don't know if I can, he sputtered, the distance between his two worlds suddenly feeling unbearable. There's so much happening here and there's so much happening back home. Her plea resonated deep within him. Jake, I know you've built a life for yourself. But your father needs you now. And maybe you need him. He took a shaky breath, weighing his options like stones in a balance. Could he really turn his back on the life he'd created? The initiative he dreamed of? But underneath it all, a flicker of nostalgia ignited a yearning for something more profound than ambition. I'll think about it. Just give me a few days to sort things out, he finally managed, feeling exhausted already by the burden of decision. After they hung up, Jake found himself wandering through the empty halls of his home. The glossy, polished surfaces felt cold and unwelcoming. He wandered into his study, staring at the piles of paperwork that had defined his life so far. Suddenly, they felt so trivial. He couldn't shake his mother's voice from his mind, nor the urgency with which she spoke. He dropped into a chair, staring at Sarah's journal resting on his desk. Her words weren't just ink on paper, they were a lifeline for him, echoing hope and resolve. What if her journey, her voice, intertwined with his family's story? Could the reality of one help to heal the other? Jake's heart raced at the thought. He flipped the pages of the journal, seeking inspiration. But in that moment, it wasn't just the words that stirred him. It was the idea of connection, of roots entwined with new growth. Images of Sarah's community swirled in his mind, their struggles echoed through her writings as if they were calling out to him. Maybe the answer wasn't to abandon one life for another. Perhaps the way forward lay in merging his past with his vision for the future. Could he bridge the chasm between his father's legacy and the community he longed to help? As the sun set outside, casting a warm glow across his study, Jake leaned back, consumed with possibility. The phone rang once more, and with it came the weight of expectation. Just accept what you feel, Jake, he whispered to himself, hand hovering over the screen again. With resolve flooding through him, he pressed dial, ready to step into both his past and an uncertain future. But as the familiar voice answered, would his family be ready to hear him out? Hello? Jake's heart raced as he heard his mother's voice again, this time with a tentative warmth that sent a shiver down his spine. Jake, are you still there? Yeah, I'm here, he managed, words catching in his throat. He couldn't finish. The weight of everything hung suspended like a thick fog. Have you thought more about coming home? Her question was like a light piercing through that fog, illuminating the path he'd been avoiding. I've been thinking, he started slowly, feeling as if he was walking a tightrope over a chasm of memories and regrets. I want to be there for you and Dad. But it feels like everything here is unraveling too. What do you mean? There was a softness in her tone, a mother's instinct to shield him, but he knew he couldn't hide. Not anymore. Things at work are chaotic, he confessed, running a hand through his hair. And then with Sarah's project I thought it would bring me direction, but now it just feels like he trailed off, uncertain how to explain the feeling of being pulled in too many directions. Jake. His mother's voice snapped his attention back. You can't be everything to everyone. Sometimes the biggest battles are fought within ourselves. The honesty in her words pushed past his defenses, and he felt a flicker of understanding. I know. He paused, weighing the gravity of his next words. I think I need to find a way to make it work for us, for everything we've been through. Silence filled the gap between them, a fragile moment where both could feel the tenuous thread connecting their paths. Your father and I. We want to talk about some things. About the past. About the future. He misses you, you know? Jake inhaled deeply, emotions swelling inside him. The thoughts of his father stirred memories both warm and painful. I miss him too. Come home, Jake. We can figure it out together, she urged, her voice trembling with hope. Okay. It slipped out before he could think twice. The decision sat heavy but strangely liberating in his gut. I'll come home. As they finalized the details, an unexpected peace washed over Jake. Maybe stepping away from his structured life wasn't he losing everything. Maybe it was about gaining a deeper understanding of where he truly belonged. After they hung up, Jake glanced out of his office window. The streetlights flickered on, illuminating the bustling city that had once felt like his whole world. Now, it seemed like just a fragment of something much larger and more complicated. He momentarily lost himself in thought, recalling Sarah's journal, her words alive in his mind. Would her story provide the bridge he needed? Could sharing her voice bring healing not only for him but for his father as well? Determined to explore this path, he picked up the journal and flipped through the pages, feeling both anxious and excited. Each entry was a reminder that real strength often grows from vulnerability and connection. As night swept in, a sense of purpose ignited within him. He wrote down ideas for combining his father's legacy with the needs of Sarah's community, letting his pen dance with the possibilities. Images emerged of new initiatives, ways to honor his father while rejuvenating the fragile threads of that townsfolk spirit Sarah had cherished. Suddenly, the weight of the unknown felt lighter. He could do this. The call to action was louder than his fears. But just as he began to feel a glimmer of hope, a text chime broke through the stillness. He glanced down, and his heart dropped. It was a message from Sarah's best friend, and it read, "You need to come to the town meeting. Something's happened with Sarah's project, and it affects everyone." A chill raced down his spine. What could possibly have occurred? His heart sank again as he realized the precarious link between his journey and Sarah's. Could this be the truth that would tilt everything he thought he knew on its head? Jake's heart raced as he considered the implications of that text. He wanted to dismiss it, but something rooted him to the spot, a mixture of dread and a magnetic pull toward the unknown. What had happened in the town? The project Sarah had poured her heart into felt like a lifeline for him, a way to connect not only with her but also with his father, and the town that raised him. He slipped on his jacket and grabbed his keys, the urgency gripping him tighter than before. The drive felt both familiar and foreign, the streets of his childhood barely recognizable under the weight of adult problems. As he navigated the winding roads leading to the town, old memories flooded back, running through these streets as a kid, playing in the parks, laughing with friends who now evaporated into the backdrop of adulthood. What would they think of him now, walking back into town after all this time? The town hall was bustling with people when he arrived. A low murmur of concern swept through the crowd, surging like the waves crashing against the shore. He caught sight of Sarah's best friend, Anna, her face pale yet determined amidst the chaos. Jake approached her. "Anna, what happened?" he asked, desperation creeping into his voice. "It's about the community project," she replied, her tone weighty. "It's been halted. There's been funding issues. Some people are saying Sarah's designs may not meet the codes. There are rumors." Jake felt a knot twist in his stomach. Rumors? What kind of rumors? His instinct was to defend Sarah. There was no way she would let something slip through the cracks without trying her hardest. "People are saying she cut corners, at least that's what I heard," Anna admitted, glancing down. "If this doesn't get resolved, the project is going to be scrapped. After everything she put into it. I don't know how she'll cope." Anger flared in Jake, mixing with fear. Self-doubt encroached, creeping in around the edges. Was this what he had been afraid of all along? Losing something beautiful to the harsh realities of life? Suddenly, he could see the weight of the world pressing down on Sarah. He could feel it. "I'll help," he said, determination lining his voice. "Somehow I'll help her." As he moved through the crowd, a voice called out from the dais. The mayor stood at the front, his face tight with worry. "We can't let this project die, people. We need to band together. We'll need all hands on deck for a meeting tomorrow to address funding and codes. Everyone's welcome." The collective anxiety of the crowd turned into murmurs of hope, and Jake felt a flicker of something. Purpose? Solidarity? He couldn't identify it just yet, but it energized him, pushing him forward. He scanned the faces in the crowd. There were friends from his past, families he knew. They'll see how important this is, he thought. Sarah's project won't die on my watch. But before he could interact with old acquaintances, he felt a familiar presence behind him. Turning, he came face to face with his father, eyes filled with concern but softened by the relief of the reunion. "Jake? Is that you?" His voice cracked with vulnerability, shaking the ground beneath Jake's emotions. After all this time, they were finally together again. Yet as they stood there, a heavy silence settled. So many unspoken words hung in the air, weaving through their shared past. After all that brought him back home, what would Jake choose to say first? Would he dive into the whirlwind of emotions, or would he focus on the looming disaster on the horizon with Sarah's project? The weight of choice pressed down on him. That S when his phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with another message. You need to see this. It changes everything. What could possibly be waiting for him inside the glowing screen? Jake's heart dropped as he stared at his phone. A million possibilities raced through his mind. Was it about the project? Was it something personal? He took a deep breath and clicked on the message. A video link flashed on the screen. It was from a number he didn't recognize, yet something told him he had to watch. The voices in the town hall faded away, the murmurs of confusion and hope dimming in his ears as he pressed play. The video opened with shaky footage of a familiar place, the old community center where he and Sarah had spent countless evenings working on plans for the new project. Then the focus shifted to Sarah, sitting alone at a table, her face lit by a dim light. He watched as she spoke, her voice trembling but filled with resolve. I need you all to hear me, Sarah said, her eyes sparkling with unshed tears. I know I'm facing criticism and uncertainty, but this project is more than just buildings. It's a chance for us to rebuild, to remember who we are. I won't let anyone tear it down, not without a fight. Jake felt his blood pulse faster. Her passion pulled him in, igniting a fire inside him. She was right. It was about more than the structures. It was the spirit of their community. The video continued, and Jake listened intently as Sarah detailed her vision, her dreams, and the ideas that had fueled her for months. But then the tone shifted. I've made mistakes, she admitted, eyes downcast. I've been overwhelmed, and the truth is I had to use some of the funds for personal reasons to keep my family afloat. I thought it wouldn't matter, that I could turn it around, but I understand if you don't want to forgive me. Jake's breath hitched. He hadn't expected this. She was fighting tooth and nail, but she was also bearing her scars. The realization struck him this wasn't just about the project. It was about Sarah's struggle to hold everything together against the odds. Just as he processed her vulnerability, a new message buzzed through on his phone. Nervously, he opened it. Jake, you need to get to Sarah's house now. You wouldn't believe what's happening. His heart raced. He looked up from his phone to find his father still standing there, concern etched across his features. The silence between them echoed with their shared past, with unspoken words gathering weight. Would he share what he just witnessed? Or would he chase after Sarah, who might be unraveling before his very eyes? Dad, Jake began, hesitating as he looked at his father. I have to go. There's something I need to do. Is it about the project? His father's voice had a hint of urgency mixed with a desire to connect. Before he could respond, Jake felt the urgency pulsing through him. Sarah needed him, and time was slipping away. We can talk later. I promise. The resolve in his heart pushed him into action. He'd find Sarah, rally the community, and face whatever storm was brewing. But first, he needed answers. As he rushed toward his car, doubt flickered in his mind. What else was at stake? What revelations awaited him? He slid into the driver's seat, gripping the wheel with tense fingers, 1,000 questions swirling in his head. Could he really be the one to save Sarah and the project? The engine roared to life, echoing the turmoil within. The urgency of the moment pressed down on him. He couldn't waste another second. Jake peeled out onto the road, racing towards Sarah, blissfully unaware that he was about to uncover a truth that would change everything for both of them. What lay ahead on this journey? What shocking revelation would unfold at Sarah's doorstep? Jake navigated the winding streets with a mix of fear and determination. The streetlights blurred as he sped past, shadowy figures flickering in and out of view. His mind replayed the video of Sarah over and over. The cracks in her voice, the sparkle of her courage, and the weight of her confession, all of it gripped his heart. Pulling up to Sarah's modest house, he noticed the flickering porch light. It felt like a scene from a movie, the kind where you know something is about to go terribly wrong. Jake stepped out of the car, the engine humming softly behind him as his heart pounded in his chest. He could feel the charge in the air, not just from his racing thoughts but from the impending revelation that loomed at her doorstep. As he knocked, the door opened slowly. Sarah stood there, her face pale and drawn, the fight he had seen in the video now replaced with worry. She looked vulnerable, and Jake's heart ached with an urge to shield her from whatever storm was brewing. Jake, her voice trembled, and she stepped back, opening the door wider. I watched your video, he said, urgency mingling with tenderness. What's going on? She glanced away, biting her lip. I don't know how to explain it. Just tell me, he urged, taking a step inside. The smell of home-cooked meal filled the air, yet the warmth of the setting contrasted sharply with the chill of her expression. As Sarah led him to the living room, a deep breath escaped her lips. I thought I could handle it alone, she began. I wanted to protect you all from what I'm facing, but it's gotten worse. What do you mean? Jake felt a knot tighten in his stomach. I was approached by someone who wants to buy the land we plan to use for the project, she said, her voice breaking. They're making me a huge offer, but if I accept, Jake could see the conflict tearing her apart. But if you accept, it means abandoning the community. It might save my family from drowning in debt, she confessed, tears pooling in her eyes. I don't want to let everyone down. But it's becoming impossible. Realization washed over Jake. It wasn't just about the project or the community. It was about survival, about being a mother fighting for her children. Sarah, he said softly, you don't have to carry this alone. We can find another way. Just then, her phone lit up on the coffee table. A new message. Sarah hesitated, eyes darting to the screen, her expression turning pale. It's him, she whispered, fear coating her words. Who? Jake asked, stepping closer. The buyer, she replied, heart racing as she reached for the phone. Before she could unlock it, Jake's hand gently closed over hers. Whatever comes next, we face it together, he promised, the gravity of his words sinking in. A mix of gratitude and fear lit up her eyes, but she hesitated. What if taking this deal is the only option? Jake shook his head, his resolve hardening. It's not the only option, he stated firmly. You have me. You have everyone who believes in this project in you. But just as the tension between them began to ease, Sarah's phone buzzed again. This time it vibrated off the table and onto the floor, shattering the moment. Sarah, it's about to get real, Jake said, bending down to pick it up. Something nagged at him, a feeling that time was slipping away. With one quick glance at the screen, he gasped. What? What is it? Sarah's voice wavered, eyes wide. This is not just a simple business offer. The message revealed a debt collector's name and a deadline that could seal their fates. Jake's heart thundered. We have less time than I thought. They needed to act fast. But how could they take down a buyer who held all the cards? The weight of their shared dilemma hung in the air. Would they fight, or would they surrender to circumstances beyond their control? As they stood there, uncertainty swirling between them, a determination began to form. Together, they could face whatever lay ahead. But what price would they have to pay to protect their dreams? Tension pulsed, leaving Jake to wonder, would they take the leap into the unknown, or would fear stand in their way? As Sarah's eyes widened, Jake held the phone tightly, feeling the coolness of the screen against his palm. Time seemed to halt, each second stretching as anxiety flooded the room. He could see the gears turning in Sarah's mind, the battle between desperation and hope playing out vividly across her features. What do we do now? Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. There was a plea in her eyes, a yearning for direction amidst the chaos that surrounded them. Jake swallowed hard. First, we need to understand what we're dealing with. Let us read the message. He hesitated, then added, together. They sat on the edge of the worn-out couch, the weight of the world pressing in on them. Sarah leaned closer as Jake opened the message. It detailed a looming deadline and ultimatum from the buyer, along with threats that hinted at things far worse than just losing the land. What does this mean for you? Jake asked, turning the phone to face Sarah. The moment felt heavy with implications. If I don't sell, they'll come after me. Everything we've built, everything I've fought for, it could all slip away. And the children. The words tumbled out, raw and filled with anguish. I can't let that happen. Jake felt a fire igniting within him. We won't let that happen either. We need to come up with a plan, fast. And what do you suggest? Her voice turned sharp, but Jake recognized the fear beneath the frustration. We're up against someone with resources we can't compete with. Maybe so. Jake took a breath, feeling the tension knotting in his stomach. But we know this land, we know the community. You've got people who care about you, people who will stand with us. Sarah looked down, her hands trembling slightly. You make it sound so simple. I wish I could believe that. It doesn't have to be simple, it just has to be done. Jake moved closer, the determination in his voice anchoring both of them. We need to rally support. Talk to the neighbors, the volunteers. Suddenly, Sarah's phone chimed again, cutting through his thoughts like a knife. They exchanged tense glances. The urgency was palpable. Should I? She asked, heart racing. With a nod of affirmation, she opened the latest message, her face transforming as she read the screen. It's a meeting request, she uttered, disbelief taking over her tone. He wants to meet. Who? The buyer, she replied, voice quaking. He wants to negotiate. Negotiate? He could hardly wrap his mind around it. Do you think they're willing to back off? I don't know, she said, biting her lip. I'm afraid it's just a tactic to force my hand, but what if we could flip the script? The idea sparked. What if we take the meeting? Gather information, see what his game plan is? Maybe we could counteroffer or leverage what we know. It could backfire, Sarah warned, her brow furrowing as she weighed the risks. If he smells desperation, we can't afford to panic, Jake pressed. This is our chance to turn the tide. We can't let fear run our lives or this community. As they weighed the chaotic possibilities, a flicker of hope ignited, a feeling that they were not simply fighting for survival, but perhaps fighting for something greater. What if I say yes? Sarah finally asked, her voice barely holding together. What if I step into that room and I feel like I've lost already? Jake took her hand, holding her gaze firmly. Then you won't be alone. We'll go together. We'll face whatever comes. You're stronger than you think. Her expression softened, and beneath her fear, a flicker of determination emerged. I want to do this for them, for us. With a nod, she began typing a response, the tension easing as purpose filled the room. But just as they began to feel empowered, Jake's phone buzzed in his pocket, startling them both. He pulled it out, eyes widening at the name flashing on the screen. Who is it? Sarah asked, concern threading through her voice. It's Paul, my brother, Jake said, feeling his heart rate quicken. He never calls this late. What if he has news about the buyer? Jake took a deep breath, the weight of the moment crashing in again. I have to take this. Stay on guard, okay? Jake, trust me. Just hold on. As he stepped away, uncertainty creeped back into Sarah's heart, the stakes only rising. What would Paul say? What bombshell could it drop into their already turbulent situation? They were on the brink of a decision that could change everything. Would they rise to the challenge, or find themselves fighting for a dream slipping through their fingers? Jake took a breath before answering the call. He could hear Paul's hurried voice through the receiver, laced with urgency. Jake. I need you to listen. Slow down, Jake interrupted, pacing the room. What's going on? There's been some talk about the buyer. You need to know who you're dealing with. He's not just a businessman, he's got connections. Dangerous ones. Jake's heart raced. Paul's tone dripped with tension. I figured it couldn't be good, Jake replied, glancing at Sarah. She looked up, worry etched across her features, and he gestured for her to come closer. What have you heard? His real investment isn't the land, Paul continued. He's got his hands in other things, illegal things. Drugs, trafficking, you name it. If he gets what he wants, it could take down the community. And you'll be right in the middle. Sarah's eyes went wide. You're sure about this? Yeah, I'm sure. I've got friends in law enforcement who've been tracking him. You need to be careful. If he finds out you're asking too many questions, or if you take that meeting without a solid plan, it's not just a negotiation, it's a game of survival for you and for everyone else. A cold wave washed over Jake as he processed the information. We can't go in unprepared. We need to find a way to protect Sarah and the community. Exactly, Paul said. You need to play it smart. Turn the meeting into your advantage, but be careful what you reveal. Keep them guessing. Jake nodded, even though Paul couldn't see him. Got it. We'll draw them out, figure out what they really want. As he ended the call, he turned back to Sarah, who was now pale. What is it? She whispered. He's connected to things we can't even begin to understand, Sarah. He's dangerous, and now we have to be even smarter about this meeting. How do we move forward? How do we protect the community? Her voice was shaky, but resolve glimmered in her eyes. We strategize. We gather intel, and we involve trustworthy allies. Jake's mind raced. We'll need to find people in the community who have been affected by him. We can unite their voices, create leverage. We make an impression. Sarah straightened up. Like a coalition? We can make a stand together. That's right, Jake said, feeling the adrenaline coursing. But first, we have to prepare for the meeting. It's not just about you anymore, it's about everyone who depends on this land. Sarah took a deep breath, and just for a moment, he saw the flicker of the fierce woman he knew. What's our first step? We draft a plan. We start with the community meeting tomorrow. Let them know what's at stake. We need to be clear and firm. Sarah nodded, determination flooding her features. And we'll get them involved, we'll inform them about the threats. But we also need to stay under the radar. The last thing we want is to draw his attention before we're ready. They began brainstorming, laying out the groundwork for what could be the turning point in their fight. Just then, Jake's phone buzzed again, this time with a message. Find out more about the meeting. He may not be the only one with a hidden agenda. Jake exchanged glances with Sarah, understanding dawning across their faces. They weren't just fighting to keep their land, they were gearing up for a battle that could shake the very foundation of their community. As they worked together, something surged between them, an electric bond fueled by both fear and fierce determination. But as the reality of what lay ahead swirled in their minds, the question loomed larger than ever. Who else would show up to this meeting, and what secrets would unravel there? The stakes were higher than they ever imagined. The sun dipped low in the sky as Jake and Sarah arrived at the town hall, the air thick with tension. The building buzzed with voices, a mix of familiarity and anxiety cutting through the crowd. Faces he hadn't seen in years stared back, glances filled with recognition and doubt. He could feel the weight of their expectations on his shoulders. As they stepped inside, the murmur quieted. All eyes turned to them. Jake took a deep breath, channeling the hope he felt from Sarah. We need to talk, he announced, heart pounding in his chest. The room settled into an attentive hush. He glanced at Sarah, her courage radiating as they faced the crowd together. About the project and what's at stake, he continued, locking eyes with familiar faces. It's more than just land, it's about our future. Their voices rang back with questions and concerns, but one woman spoke up, her tone resolute. What are we facing? What do we need to do? Jake's heart swelled. Here was the unity he longed for. He glanced at Sarah and knew they were in this together. We have a buyer, he explained, looking around the room. And he's not just interested in the land. He has connections to dangerous activities, things that threaten us all. Gasps echoed. Murmurs spread, doubt creeping in. What do you suggest we do? Another person asked, voice tinged with skepticism. We fight back, Jake replied, conviction in his stance. We educate ourselves, gather evidence, and meet him head on. We need to be smart and united. Without wasting a moment, Sarah stepped forward. Together, we can show him that this community will not back down. We have families, dreams, and futures here. The room erupted in energy, a sense of purpose igniting. Conversations sparked, plans formed. Jake felt his grip on Sarah's hand tighten. This was the connection he had been searching for, the family he longed to build again, not just with his own but with every person in this room. Let us meet tomorrow, Jake said, voice steady. We'll organize our approach, prepare questions, present our case. We're not just fighting for the project, we're fighting for one another. The night grew long, filled with brainstorming sessions, laughter, and shared stories. Each person brought pieces of hope and familiarity. They scribbled ideas on whiteboards, building a coalition of voices stronger than any single one alone. By the end of the meeting, Jake felt transformed. He was no longer just a billionaire seeking redemption. He was a part of something bigger. He remembered his parents' call, the urgent tone of his mother, and felt a swell of gratitude. This community felt like home, and the journey ahead shaped by the collective commitment would bring healing to ancient wounds. As he and Sarah left the crowded hall, the night air crisp around them, she turned to him, her eyes shining with a mix of admiration and tears. "I didn't know you had this in you, Jake. Thank you for believing in us." "Thank you for believing in me," he replied, the bond between them stronger than ever before. The path leading up to the buyer's meeting was fraught with uncertainty, but with every plan laid, every connection made, Jake felt lighter. They had each other and their community. Together they would turn the tide. That morning signaled a new beginning, a chance for honor and healing. What would happen next was unknown, but Jake was ready to face it all, hand in hand with Sarah and their united community. In that moment, he realized he'd finally bridged the gap between who he had been and who he was meant to be. His phone buzzed with a message, a reminder of the meeting. Determination surged. "Get ready for a battle," he mused, the gravity of the moment hitting. This was it. The chance to redefine not only what mattered in his life but how he'd intertwine one family's struggle with another's triumph. Jake looked over at Sarah and smiled. "Let us show them who we are." They were more than just names. They were hearts bound by a shared struggle, ready to fight not just for their futures but for a community, for family. And they would not back down. With renewed purpose, Jake stepped out into the crisp morning air, ready. Today would mark the start of something remarkable. As they approached the meeting, Jake felt a wave of warmth wash over him. Everyone had gathered. This was it. They were in this together, come what may. Now, this is where you come in. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread the word. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your thoughts matter. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Remember, true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.